Welcome to the Elevate Podcast. My name is Chris Rodriguez, and I'm a business coach, digital marketing expert, serial entrepreneur, and Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt. In this podcast, you're going to learn actionable marketing strategies, business systems, and mindset development so you can truly become an elevated and empowered entrepreneur. I hope you enjoy and subscribe. Welcome everybody, Chris Rodriguez here with Grow Pro Agency, and I have the amazing Mr. John Stewart on with us today. He is one of our awesome Grow Pro clients. He's also a Maya client, and he has been crushing it in his schools despite the year that we had in 2020. Mr. Stewart, welcome. Thank you so much for hopping on today. Why don't you tell the audience a little bit about yourself, a little bit about your school? Give me a little history lesson.
Well, first off, it's an honor to be here. Thank you for having me on this podcast. So I can't think of a better person to speak with than you. You're in my opinion, a rock star in this industry, no doubt about it. You're certainly something that I would look up to, someone I look up to. I've been in the business now. I've been a martial arts student for 27 years. I have been a paid instructor for approximately 23 years, and I've owned my own studio for 15 years. So building. I learned a lot without any mentor help. And then in 2019, I attended the Super Show with my entire team. That was my third Super Show, but the first time I brought my team. And then from there, I became a foundations member. Fast forward a couple of months, the pandemic happened. So basically, pre-pandemic, actually, I'll go with what we have today. Currently, we are looking at, we're approximately 350 students. 260 are active programs. The rest of them are on trials, hoping to be converted. My goal for the end of this calendar year is 400 active students in our primary location. That's our goal. But who knows if we'll hit that? Just a lot of hard work. And I have a team of people to help me out who are teaching class as we speak.
Amazing. So, I know you said you joined the Maya family in 2019. We're able to grow, and then we all got hit in 2020 with the most unexpected pandemic. How were your schools affected by COVID?
Well, it's a great question. I am probably one of the leading examples of failure in our industry, and the biggest mistakes you can possibly make, I've made it. As a foundations member, I went from the Super Show until December, I believe it was, of 2019 or ish. I hadn't made any commitments to do anything past that, and everyone knows what happened in March 2020, and I completely fell apart, if I look at it that way. I always told myself that I would never make any serious business decisions mad or upset, and I broke my own rule. I think it was March 17th, 2020, when everything started to happen. We would average approximately 30 to 40 kids per class on an average day. We were boasting about 320 active clients at the time. And with a snap of a finger, as you know how the story goes, it all stopped. No clients came to the studio. No one wanted in-person training anymore. We followed all the rules at the time with us being out there. So not knowing anything, I shut the school down completely. Lost all 300 and whatever students that we had, went down to zero. We had no students as of March 20th, 2020, and went into a pretty big mode of depression for a couple of days. I don't want to say really bad, but I was completely lost. Sure. At the time, I had no idea it was a mistake. I didn't know what to do. So that was on I think it was on a Friday, maybe it was a Saturday that happened. The following, so I met with my team at the time, and I said, I have no idea what we're going to do, but please trust me, I will figure it out. Trust me, I will figure it out. And they did. And they left our final meeting that day, trusting us, and we all went home to quarantine, as the story goes, back in March. Wednesday of that week, or maybe it was Thursday, I can't remember, Maya Hub was posted. And when Maya Hub was posted, Mr. Tassel and Mr. Metzger were talking. And I I like to listen to martial arts talk, so I happened to listen, and they mentioned this funny thing called Zoom. And I'm like, what is that? I've never heard of Zoom. I had no reason to know Zoom. I had never heard of it. And well, long story short, within about 1 hour, I pulled together a team meeting. And I said, this is what we're doing. I heard it from Maya. This is how it's going. And it snowballed from there. 1 week later, we had gone on to Facebook Live. You're the one that taught me how to do that. I took one of your seminars immediately following. Very busy week of learning. I self-taught myself. I self-taught Zoom. I looked up on YouTube how to run Zoom. I had no idea what Zoom was. And then I downloaded your course. You were a massive help for me there. I can't think of anyone better at the pandemic martial arts than you. You pulled us out of that. There's no question there.
Thank you.
And the number one thing I had to do from that point after Facebook Live is get my students back. We had 320 family members that we had to call. So I was on the phone for 2 straight months, non-stop. That was my job, getting clients in the door. Fast forward, and today we're at, like I said, I think 320 active clients. So went from 0 and hopefully 400 at the end of this year, within about 1.5 years.
I mean, amazing, like rags, I'm going to call it a rags to riches, right? From 0 to 320. You said a couple of things that I wanted to unpack there.
Yes, please.
I think as leaders, it's important to be transparent with our team when we don't have all of the answers. And you did that. And then you asked them to trust you, and they did that as well. That's one of my core values, not only for my family and my friends, but my team. I want them to know I am your person. I might not have all the answers, but I'll figure it out, just like you figured it out, right? And I love how you said you went on Google, you went on YouTube, and you figured it out. And I joke all the time that my businesses have been grown from Google and YouTube. There is not a lack of resources or knowledge out there. There is a lack of people taking action and being resourceful with, what they can find online. And I know a lot of martial arts schools where, the pandemic was unfortunately the nail in the coffin for them, because they did not take advantage of the resources that were in front of them, as simple as Google and YouTube, right? I mean, if you want to learn anything, you can find it on Google and YouTube. So now that, I don't even really think we can say we're out of the pandemic, right? I mean, the media wants to, show you every day all the new cases. I'm in Florida, which, we're apparently the COVID hub. Yeah. But, now that you guys have rebuilt and the numbers are strong, what would you say is the thing that sets your schools apart from all the other schools in your area? What is your unique selling proposition? What makes you guys so special?
Well, there's 2 things. Number one, and I learned this from you, is we are the best known school around. No one advertises more. Everyone that comes to us says they see us everywhere. We are all over the place. We use GrowPro to do it. We use, with Google ads, with everything that GrowPro does. We also use the radio station. It's local. They do digital marketing in our local community. We're on the radio station. So we're going to events. So as we're speaking now, it's middle of August of 2021. In a couple of weeks, school starts. We're going to be at the schools for the parent meet and greets. So we're doing in-person events. So we're the best known school around. That's our first piece. The second piece is we consider ourselves child development experts who love to teach martial arts. We know that our bread and butter are kids ages 5 to 12. That's our bread and butter business. And we have a lot of kids ages 5 to 12. Obviously, we want to be teaching martial arts, but we take a little slightly different approach, and we put in the child development aspect behind it, and the parents love it. We've had to change our schedule and update it so many times as a result, because our classes are so packed. And I love being able to say that. It just feels great. And they're it's that those are the two things: to be the best known school and to be setting ourselves apart as a child development experts.
I love it. And, I think what some school owners have a tendency to happen is if they find a marketing channel that works for them, that's all they focus on, right? Like, and you have all of these different lines out in the ocean. You're doing Facebook ads, you're doing Google ads, you're leveraging the radio, you're developing partnerships in education. And 2020 taught us that you can't have all of your eggs in one basket. And many schools solely relied on word of mouth. Word of mouth and referrals is difficult when people aren't coming into your facility and everybody's quarantined. And partnerships in education was another really big marketing strategy that, hey, the kids aren't in school, the teachers aren't in school, the administration isn't in school. And that was really hard to develop. So I think, your strategy of making sure that you have these different marketing channels and it's not just one is so important. And in the marketing world, we call that being omnipresent. And the question that I ask school owners all the time is, do you want to be the best dojo or do you want to be the best known dojo? And usually the response is, well, I want to be both, right? Which we do, because if you are the best known dojo, but you have a really bad product or service, that's going to be a really quick way to shut your doors, right? I mean,
exactly.
the fastest way to bankrupt a restaurant that doesn't have good food is with good marketing, because the word is going to get out that the service and the product that they're supplying isn't up to par. So I love that you have those different, what we call lines out in the ocean. And I definitely want to touch more on this childhood development positioning that you've made, because I'm a huge believer in it as well. And I think school owners often get so caught up on teaching the punches and the kicks and the self-defense, but they don't really focus on the fact that that's just kind of the vehicle that gets us to reaching our human potential. So how did what occurred? When did that kind of light switch go on, and where you were going to position yourself more as a childhood development center versus, we do punches and kicks?
Excellent question, and I appreciate you asking that, because that's definitely one of our differentiators. The 2019 Super Show, not to sell the Super Show, but 2019 Super Show we attended with the team, and there's two of my team members who they have a teaching background, and I signed them up for a seminar with Melody Johnson. Obviously, it was extra money to sign them up for the seminar. That changed it. I didn't take the seminar myself. I was doing owners classes instead. When that team, and I asked, so we went, I think it was 6 of us that went, and I asked all the team members to gather notes. I knew that the videos would be coming out afterwards, but I asked them all to gather notes. And these 2 team members, one in particular, and she's now in charge of our curriculum development and instructor training, she came to me so excited to talk about what she had learned and everything else, and that's where everything changed. So is based on the Super Show and Melody Johnson's conversation that she had with us.
I love it. So Melody's a good friend of mine. She's right here in St. Pete. It's about 45 minutes away. We're actually working on some B2B stuff with GrowPro and Skills. And, she is the name in our industry in regards to kids programs. So I think it's phenomenal that you were able to, be introduced to these new concepts. And, I know you had said like, hey, I don't want to push the Super Show, but what I think really what you're pushing is continued education. And that's something that you've dedicated yourself to with, different mentorship programs. And we don't know it all, right? When we open up a school, we don't know all the answers.
And to that point that you just made, and to add on to that as a branch, when I was having the meeting with that team member following the Melody Johnson seminar, this was about a week later. I had allowed everyone time to just kind of absorb what we had all learned. I was very old school with my training in terms of it was done a certain way. I basically made the curriculum up to that point, and I didn't want change. I was very not receptive to change. The idea of child development, it's like, yeah, but have them do push-ups instead, or have them, whatever the discipline is. We teach discipline. When I was introduced to the concept that they taught, it was not difficult to change. as soon as I saw it, I was like, mind blowing. I'm like, this just amazes me. And I'm a very difficult person to change the mindset of when it comes time to that, because I've been doing it for 25 years. So my recommendation to someone who's considering something like that with a change is just have an open mind. If you're open-minded, you can go a long way just by allowing considerations to occur.
I love it. So can you, obviously your kind of main focus is this 5 to 12. Can you break down the different programs that you offer at our school and which programs, yes, we're martial arts schools, but we're also a business and we got to be able to pay rent. So out of the programs that you offer, which ones have you found to be most profitable for you guys?
So most profitable is obviously our juniors program, our basics program, because that's where we get the highest revenue generate, or the highest value per student, and then moving into one of our upgrade programs, which we call Black Belt Club. The most students that we've been actually receiving so far is our much younger kids program, ages 3 to 6. We've just been inundated with requests for the 3 to 6-year-old program. I actually have had 2 phone calls in the last couple of days, and both parents for 4-year-olds have told me there is nothing in our area for this age group. We're not sure if we even want martial arts, but there's nothing for my kids to do at this age. So they come in. My point being is it's not necessarily the most profitable program because it's a 6-month program versus our 12 or our 36-month programs. However, I'm the first person to know that 3, 4, and 5-year-olds who enjoy it are going to stay with it, and they're going to move into the juniors programs and they're going to continue. The other thing we offer as well, I know a lot of our industries don't offer them anymore. We offer an after-school program. So we transport kids after school. That's probably, as far as student value goes, that's our highest value program. COVID obviously changed that a lot, but we're bouncing back this year. But so we have our little guys program. Some people call it Little Dragons. We call it Mini Masters. We have our
cool
program and then the after-school program. And the amount of interest coming in for the little kids is the most. The juniors program is the second most, and the after school program, highest value is our after school program, and then juniors obviously from there.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting how you said that, the younger kids, we call ours the tiny ninjas. We have a 3 and 4-year-old program for that, and we are consistently having a waiting list for that exact reason. Is there just isn't a lot to do for 3 and 4-year-olds. And the other thing that I think the elephant we have to call out in the room is you need a very specific type of instructor that's going to be able to maintain the attention of a 3 and 4-year-old, right? And when we tell people, other school owners that don't offer that age group, they look at us like, we're nuts. But that age group has the potential to have the largest lifetime value. And they really are sponges at that age. And if you have a curriculum that makes sense for their, developmental stage that they're in, it can really be a lot of fun. And, I'm in Tampa, Florida. We're, pretty popular city. And really the only other thing for that age group to do is something called soccer shots, which is, a soccer league that's usually ran by like a parent who's a coach. And then you've got things like a Gymboree class, and that's really it. So I think it's a huge market that hasn't been tapped into, but I think you absolutely do need a certain type of instructor that has the patience to work with, the 3 and 4-year-olds.
You definitely do.
Man, this has been awesome. Thanks so much for unpacking some of the programs, because that's usually what a lot of listeners want to know is, okay, well, this guy's crushing it, but what is he offering? I'd love to kind of unpack a little bit more, just because I'm, the social media person. I'd love to unpack a little bit more on how you guys are using social media in your school. What does that look like? Who's responsible for it? Are you, taking pictures? Are you making videos? How kind of deep down the rabbit hole are you guys going with social media?
Well, that's a good question. I appreciate that. So again, you're the reason why we do what we do. One of the things I like to do is attend your master classes that you have, and it's just phenomenal amount of information. You have taught me to hire professional videographers and put together an entire system that so parents can see. So As far as social media goes, we use the Maya social media calendar. We follow what your lead is with the What's Up Monday. We try to post regularly. It's a little bit difficult right now and with summer camp going on to pay attention to that. But we try to post as regularly as possible. So I just follow the Maya social media calendar. And with regards to what we're doing from there is we pay attention. And again, because of listening to you as well, we pay attention to who's liking our Facebook and who's liking our social media content. And then we reach out to that person if they meet our demographic requirements. And if they're not a client of ours, we reach out to them and ask them if they're interested in more information. So we use that social media to our advantage. And you just keep it going. And it's then we have the retargeting that happens, and GrowPro does all the marketing for us, and it gets retargeted. As a result, because of all those lines in the water, as you say, with all the social media, I mean, we average approximately, well, I'll put it this way. We have since, August, since June 1 of 2021 until today, we're at approximately 195 leads at this point right now. So it's because of all that stuff. And obviously, they're not all coming to fruition, but 191 leads is a nice number to work with since June 1.
Absolutely, right? And now we can take those leads, we can follow up appropriately, book appointments. Something that Mr. Tossell said at a Maya event was a full calendar equals a full mat, and a full mat equals a full bank account. And what I, want to kind of touch on, because the school owners that I see not have, crazy success, right? 195 leads in 2.5 months. I mean, that is some really, really great success. What they don't understand is that it starts with the content that you're putting out. And I think that's really important that you highlighted, hey, you didn't go to college to learn film. You're not a videographer. You're not going to try to take your 17-year-old instructor, let's say, that you have, that you want to focus. You want them focusing on instructing and saying, hey, go try to learn some videography. You went out, you hired a professional, which with everything in our business, we've got to decide, am I going to, spend my time and my energy, or am I going to spend my money? And because you did that, you now have these high quality pieces of content that can be used on social media, that can be used with your follow-up sequences, that can be used in your ads. And I just don't think enough schools understand the importance of that content marketing piece. And, like you said, you're utilizing the Maya Edge calendar as well, which makes it a lot easier, because I know when, Facebook first came out, it's like, man, I know I need to post. So I would go on my Facebook business page and I'd click the little create post button. And then I'm just staring at a blank screen. And, 5 minutes goes by, 10 minutes goes by. I'm like, I can't believe I'm spending this much time on it. So then I end up going to Google and I'll type in like motivational quote. And then you try to find some motivational quote that has like a mountain scene backdrop. And that's what you end up posting. And I just think that your experience has shown that there are certain things in our business that need to be outsourced. And you've got to decide, and definitely depending on, if you're just opening up your school, you're doing everything. But once you hit kind of certain stages, you've got to know, what is my time best spent on? And really creating Canva images for your Facebook business page isn't what you as the CEO needs to be focusing on.
And on top of that, one of the things that you mentioned to me last year, I don't know if you remember this or not, but you had talked about utilize that professional for follow-ups. So what we do, and this is just a little bit of a tip for your podcast listeners, when we have a client that we follow up with, and once we've scheduled that first class, that trial class, we send them a video of what to expect. And the video is professionally shot. It walks them through step by step what to expect when they come in on their first day, all the way down to where to put their shoes and hat. And the reason why we do that is it gives them a level of comfort before they come in. We also have introduced them to the instructors in the video so they know who they'll be meeting. The instructors give them a little thing like, my favorite ice cream flavor is chocolate and I love horses. That way the kids like it as well. And the reason why I'm bringing that up is our show rate was about 50% before we did that. And now it's closer to 80 to 90%.
That's amazing with one video, right? And it's one, I love that you know what those KPIs are, right? Those key performance indicators. A lot of schools don't track that data from lead to appointment, appointment to show, and show to close. And if you're not tracking that, then you really don't know where the holes in your bucket are. And as a leader, if we don't know where the holes in the bucket are, then we don't know how to guide our team, to fix that. And what's so great about this video is, yes, you paid somebody to come in, a one-time fee, but now you have that, and the proof is in the pudding. Your show rate, which means if your show rate is going up, then your close rate is also going up as well. And I just had a major takeaway, from this. I love how you are infusing a little detail about the instructor, because I do think that would get the kids really pumped up to know something about them. And, it's also a conversation starter when the kids come in.
Yeah,
Great job on the implementation.
The average parent says, oh, hey, you're Mr. So-and-so, or you're Miss So-and-so. I remember I saw you in the video, and they just feel more comfortable if the parent's the one engaging instead of us engaging. So. Absolutely.
Yeah. And yes, we're in the martial arts industry, but we are in the business of building relationships. And that relationship is only going to get built based off of the amount of trust. And that's why I love this so much, because now they've got a name to a face. They can see that, you're not some, just, I don't know what word I want to use, but you're a professional looking martial arts school, right?
Right.
And, I know none of your competitors are doing that either. And I think that's really important, because when somebody is actively looking for martial arts, think of our own personal behaviors. If, if I want to order a pizza online, like I'm going to go to Google, I'm going to type in, pizza near me, and I'm going to get a bunch of options. And they might not just be checking you out. They might be checking other martial arts schools out. And they probably booked appointments with those other martial arts schools as well, because they want to see what the difference is. And if before they even step foot into your facility, you've shown that much interest in them, you've given that much effort, it just puts you in a whole nother playing field than, your competitors. Absolutely. So great job, sir. Awesome. So let's, we'll kind of wrap it up here a little bit, but I love asking this question just because, experience is a really great teacher. But if you were to start all over again, what's one thing that you would do differently?
Well, that's easy. That's have a mentor on day one. And I say that, it's easy to kid about it when I'm at this point, but in all honesty, if I was part of my elite like I am now, back when the pandemic started, my doors never would have shut down. I would have been given immediate stuff right away. This is what you do. I knew about you anyways. I met you back in Boston in 2019. But having a mentor who would stay with me from day one and saying, hey, we've never been here. However, pay attention to this, this, and this, everything would have been different. And I am very confident that if I had a mentor consistently like I do right now, I would not have to be rebuilding the business. I'd be looking at a second and third location right now.
That is the exact advice that I give as well. This question was actually recently posed to me in the Martial Arts Entrepreneurs Facebook group. This is a school owner that just got the keys to their brand new school, and they asked, what was the one mistake or the one thing you would have changed? And my answer was exactly what yours was, I waited till about 4 years to start looking for a mentor. And I want to take it a step further, because Maya was not my first mentor. I actually started with a different consulting company, and I very quickly realized that our core values were not in line. And I think that's really important when choosing a mentor, because there's lots of different ways to run a successful martial arts school. You see these arguments in our industry Facebook groups: contracts or no contracts, upgrades or no upgrades, paid trial or free trial. And you see all of these comments, and sometimes people will, give a little bit of a history of what they do, and you'll see successful schools, whatever, I guess successful just depends on what your definition is, but there are successful schools that use contracts and there are ones that don't use contracts. And I think one of the most important things when choosing a mentor is finding one that has similar core values that, as you do. Because I had a mentor when I first started and our core values just weren't aligned. So it wasn't going to, last a prolonged period of time. But very interesting that we have the same exact answer for that.
It's funny you say that because I'm in a similar boat. 2017, I went to a mentor meeting and our core values weren't there. I said to my team at the time, this is a waste of time for me. It's all about, money, 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 which I know a lot of people probably say anyways, but I really felt that way. And I don't have that feeling now. Yes, it's expensive, but it's expensive in my opinion, because you're going to follow through because you're paying for it. So
yeah.
that's a piece. And I don't look at it as an expense, it's an investment. And I would not be where I am today if it wasn't for my mentors. I'll tell you that.
I love it. I love it. So, last and final question, any additional nuggets of wisdom or insight that you'd like to share with our fellow martial arts school owners?
Yeah, I think two pieces that it's really, really important for anyone who's listening is number one, be involved with a mastermind group. Outside of my mentoring that I like to be a part of, the mastermind group that I involve myself with Elite and with CMA, I'm able to challenge myself because I see what other school owners are doing. And I say, I need to do that. How are we not doing that? It's because I'm paying attention to what the others are doing in the industry. So that's my first piece, is involve yourself with a mastermind group. And for those of the people that don't know what mastermind is, in my opinion, it's two people or more who are looking to go in the same direction with the same common goal. Kind of makes that third person. In our group, it's a couple hundred people, I believe. That's really the piece there. If you're not going to have a mentor, at least have a mastermind. And besides that, just don't be afraid to get on the phone and call. That's the one thing that really separates me as a business owner from everybody else outside of everything that we do as a business. I am not afraid to call clients who are and just follow up. People do not like rejection, neither do I. But that's why we're where we are today, because of getting on the phone.
Yeah, so let's dive into that just a little bit more. The first piece of this being, a part of a mastermind group. And one of my favorite sayings is, don't be the smartest person in the room, right? And if you are in a mastermind group where the top school is doing $30,000, which I think there would be plenty of people in, a Facebook group that would say $30,000 a month is a successful school. Well, compared to what, right? And I think that's one of the reasons why Maya is so successful, because you've got schools that are doing over 6 figures a month. What people dream to do in a year, these school owners are doing monthly. And if they can do it, why can't I? And what I love that you said is, you didn't get jealous. You didn't get angry. You said, if they can do it, I can do it. And I think that's, an unfortunate thing that happens for some school owners is that they'll look at these school owners that, have this certain level of success, and they almost look down on it, as a way, the whole McDojo term, as opposed to, what can I learn from this person? Mm-hmm. So what an amazing piece of advice.
To that point, when you're saying don't be the smartest person in the room, when I talk to someone like Mr. Tassel or Mr. Metzger or Mr. Rodriguez, and I sit here and go, I have this, this is look how amazing I had for my month. And they're like, okay, now let's make it better. Let's do this. Whereas people in my close circle might say, wow, holy cow. Whereas the mentor group, that's what our goal is. Now let's make it better. It's not like
exactly.
That's amazing. It's okay. Now let's make it better, which is what I need.
Taking it to the next level. And the last thing that you said is, don't be afraid to get on the phone. And I've asked this on stage a couple of times when I'm talking about marketing. I'll say, all right, raise your hand if you love to make phone calls. And out of a room of 250 people, like maybe 2 people will raise their hand. And I think what's really important is when we are looking at what is on our task list or our to-do list, if something is going to have a direct impact to the bottom line, then do it. And oftentimes, the things we don't want to do, there's this great book called The War of Art, not to be confused by The Art of War. It's a very, very quick read, phenomenal writer, but he talks a lot about the resistance that shows up in our life, right? If, for instance, we wake up in the morning and we had a gym session scheduled on our calendar and we're like, man, I'm sore, I'm tired, I don't want to go. That's the resistance, and that's telling you that's something you need to do. Same thing with making phone calls, right? If you have all of these, quality leads that are coming in and, maybe somebody on your team is, I've got 195 leads. That's a lot of things, a lot of leads to pick up, or customer calls, just checking in with your clients. If you have a resistance to that, that's usually telling you it's something that you should do.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree more. And I think that if I knew what I knew now 2 years ago, before the COVID pandemic, it would, like I said, it'd be a game changer at this point. I was afraid to get on the phone. You can't be afraid. You have to do it. I had no choice. I had to build the business. So that's huge for us, is getting on the phone. And when no one wants to do it, that's why we became successful with it.
And I mean, what a great example that you're showing to your team as well. It's not this, do as I say, it's, do as I do as well.
Exactly.
Awesome. Mr. Stewart, anything else that you'd like to add on?
No, it's been an honor to talk to you. As I mentioned before, you're the reason why we were able to launch during the pandemic. I never would have been able to even come close to being as successful as we were without all the stuff you put out for us at the beginning of the pandemic with regards to how to run Zoom the best way and everything else. So it's an honor to be on this podcast. You definitely are a major reason why my studio here is very successful now.
I appreciate that, sir. Thank you so much for sharing your stories and your experience with our listeners. And we appreciate your time. We'll talk to you soon.
Thank you very much. It was a pleasure.